was like,
Chucky. Well, they do that.
I know. Like,
In Child's Play 3, Chucky cuts the back of Andy's ankle.
That's gotta be it then, because I've only seen the Chucky movies when I was younger, and I refused to watch them as an adult.
But they do that in Hostel as well. When I think one of the first kids gets tied up or whatever, the guy who's detaining him is like, "Oh, you can go free now. You're good," or whatever, and he lets him crawl away. And then when he's about to get to the door, I think he does something like he cuts his Achilles, but they show it. Oh no! Here's what happens. They tell him. So he's like, he cuts his Achilles on both legs while he's sitting in a chair, and then he tells him he can go free. So when he tries to stand up, you see the flaps or whatever, and then he
Yeah, I just don't like things coming from beneath, or also like. Freddy coming through I just nothing coming from beneath, just come straight at me, bro. No,
come at me, bro.
But no, going back to this movie though, I agree that I think that Buffy being the last one Sarah Michelle Gellar being the last one to survive would have been like too easy, or it would have been like, oh, I see that coming. But I would have liked to see those roles reverse. So.
I do like that you talked about that chase and the kill, because I think that's my favorite. I think that entire scene is why this movie works and why I love it so much, because there's so much tension built in that. I feel like we watched that right earlier, and it made me feel the way that I felt when I first watched it or whatever. I think that's the key to this film that's still relevant now. You know what I mean? And just the way that it's shot, and like her sister being like an idiot and didn't really like her or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, why wouldn't you go, and lock the back door quicker when you see your sister's like panic, you know what I mean? Because I don't think that she ever...
She says, I'm being attacked, and her sister's just like, you're full of shit. Like, I don't...
But there's no point in the beginning of the movie where she cries wolf that she would think that she would does this all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very true.
So you think the sister was like asking for it? I'm just like...
She deserved it.
No, I'm playing.
Yeah, but that kill was crazy when you see him dragging her body, and that's a realization that he's already in the building, and you know what I mean. And then they do that really cool little build up where he cuts off the lights and he's acting like one of the mannequins.
Yeah,
because that's also a cool phobia. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
like being in a store like that. It's good. And then she almost gets away, and she's right there, and there's all those people, in the parade. And the parade makes me remember that this is one of the only horror films that's really based around, because they hit him on July 4th, and then it circles around to a year later, and it ultimately takes place on July 4th again. And it's at the end, he's like, happy 4th of July, Julie, or whatever.
Right.
There's not really many horror films that you could say that take place around that time, like in the summer, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's original in that aspect as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because summer's supposed to be like bright and happy and like nothing's gonna happen. So yeah, then I think that's what adds to like the spookiness of that. Like shit could happen anytime.
I have a question for you guys. What are your thoughts on Ben Willis? We haven't really talked about him as a villain. Like, do you think that he did you connect with him? Do you think that he was cool? Do you think he's scary? Do you think he's cheesy? Like, any thoughts on him as
I thought it was kind of like interesting how they were saying that the whole town was blaming David Egan for for the death of his daughter, and so as a father, like, you know, if you're assuming that someone was responsible for the death of your daughter, then
yeah, sometimes that hatred can go really deep, and then you do things you wouldn't do normally.
right. But just murking like 5 teenagers like out of nowhere, that's not tied to like a fatherly type of thing. But I feel like the original like murder might not justified, but there was some, you know, motive behind it. Yeah.
I don't know if I needed what's his name, Ben
Willis?
Yeah, Ben Willis. I don't know if I needed to hear him talk as much.
Really?
Probably like a couple less lines. I would have been like, oh shit, this guy's scary.
Yeah, like the hat with the not seeing the face and the slicker, like that made him like really scary.
I think once we kind of got to see all of it, I was like, I think maybe like they wanted us to connect with him, like, hey man, like he lost someone, so now he's trying to like, you know, wipe out these kids. But I don't know if I needed to see so much of him and hear so much of him.
So it sounds like you're a fan. You both were a fan of the slicker, as they call it, or the raincoat, and the kind of disguising of who he really was. And so once that mystery was kind of given away, it lost. So you thought that the movie kind of lost its steam at that point?
No,
the character was just less scary. I felt like seeing like, oh, this is just a normal guy, not some.
I think I would have liked,
mysterious, like,
the mystery. Yeah, I would have liked to see. You know, when he says like, "Yeah, get in my boat," like if he would have done that and then gotten in the boat and dressed up really quick. I know this sounds crazy, but I would have been fucking scared. Like, fuck, he just looked me in the face and now he's hiding behind this like fucking like outfit. Like that would have scared the shit out of me. But I mean, you know, he didn't have the time. he just
also
didn't have the time.
Have you guys noticed like the various kind of convenient like ways that I feel like he could, like, for example, he had so many opportunities to kill Ray, especially at the end, like when he puts his hand out and he just fucking like clotheslines him. And then he's like, get in the boat or whatever. Why not take him out while he
stands over him?
The guy's unconscious, and he has the hook on him at that time because he pulls his hook out from wherever.
Maybe he has like.
And it's like, why not just hook him or fucking take him out of the equation? Then, but he's
really
like,
want to see him like gone.
But then he's like, oh, I'm just gonna take the boat off the dock and leave, and then he leaves him there, and then, you know, Ray, of course, I just felt like it was kind of convenient story wise, you know. They're like, oh well, she needs her, you know, her dude to come
rescue her. Yeah. Well, how come Ray didn't get like more than just a letter from, like, he didn't get like a big in your face like warning like everyone else did with a body in the trunk? Or
considering he's the one who hit him.
Well, they do say that he was the one, and he kind of started a romance with the sister for a while, because she says, oh, you know, this fisherman came who was supposedly his friend, and his name's Billy Blue, and he had just given that boat as an alias, or it was like the alias from his boat name. And I feel like we're supposed to think that he went there because he felt guilty, and he did what they did just earlier. He found out who David's like closest relative was, and he wanted to go and kind of help them grieve in a way. And then this kind of, she wanted a relationship with him, and that's when she says to Helen and Julie, oh well, he never told me this specifically, but I think it hurt him to be around me or to see me or something, and it was because he felt guilty because he thought that he had killed the brother,
right,
or whatever. So I thought that's really cool, and something that not a lot of people pick up on watching this. I don't know.
But his guilt didn't mean that he can just live. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, that's fine and dandy that, like, you have this relationship with his sister and all, but, like, you and Barry are little assholes for doing that. And how does he just get to live? Like, that's what I...
Yeah, he is very quick to be like, you know, the tide will just wash it out to sea,
right.
and I don't have, like, money to get me out of this or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe that was what the killer connected with. Like, hey, he's a fellow fisherman. Like,
I mean, he could have been listening if
Yeah.
he was conscious then, and they didn't, you know, and they just assumed that.
I think he was, because Barry's the one that was like, brings up the whole the hook hand aspect. And then he comes back and he has the hook. You know,
I feel like it
hook.
ends up, he foreshadows all the things that they talk about.
right.
That's cool too, though. I hadn't thought about that, but that's a pretty cool thing about the movie. When they're just, like, joking about it.
Yeah, it ties into urban legend or folklore, the way that the way that they talk about around even in the campfire.
But he wouldn't have heard that.
Not that,
point.
no.
Yeah.
No.
No, but I'm saying when they were about to throw him over the water,
Yeah.
Barry's character yells that out about, he's not...
Oh, yeah. No, he says, pretend that he's some psychotic with a hook for a
That's what he
hand,
says.
You're right.
and
He
we're
yells
doing
that out,
and we're doing everybody a favor.
That's
He says,
right.
Yeah. So it's almost like he's like, okay.
I'll be that psychotic kid with the hook.
Yeah.
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 All right, moving on. Are you guys a fan of the slicker as a costume or a look, and the hook? What did you guys think of the weapon of choice for the film?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought when I first saw it, years ago when I was like, I don't know, 8 or something, I thought like, oh, this reminds me of other things, like of other slashers. But now that I see it, I'm like, no, this is very its own thing. Like, so I like it. Yeah.
Tim?
Yeah, I liked it because it was kind of relevant to the town that they were in. It seemed like it was like a fisher's town, and
then he drowned. Yeah.
Yeah, like it was all like relevant and also very scary, like very kind of just mysterious and not knowing who that could be.
Or if it's one of them.
Right,
because they kind of point the finger at Ray.
Ray, I was pretty sure it was Ray for the good, like, first part of the movie, because he was like, when they were like, oh, we need to go back and see the sister of David Egan again, he's like, oh,
It gets all sketchy,
yeah. But it was because he was going to see her and he thought that would look sketch and stuff. The hook was pretty scary. Like, that's I don't want to die anyway, but like dying by hook doesn't sound like an enjoyable way to go out.
Especially because it's probably going to take a few whacks before you...
And he's just going to drag you out of there, like... with
like the
hook.
sister, just...
Oh, yeah.
Right your torso.
And that cop that was not, like, on it at all. He looked around for, like, 2 seconds. Yeah, no murder up here. Like...
Yeah, I felt like that was very, kind of making fun of, like, the small, like, fisherman's village.
Mm-hmm.
That they don't have murders and crime, like that. So he was just like, oh, this girl's imagining things. Mm-hmm. And that's why he doesn't really check... when they go upstairs, he's just like, oh yeah, no, nothing around here or whatever. And then they come back and they do an insert shot of the blood dripping off of the balcony. So it's like, oh, you could have saw that if you just fucking gave a shit. A couple more seconds. That was pretty... They don't really show it. It's more off screen, but Barry's death is pretty brutal too, because you hear the kind of... Yeah, that it's like the more of the shadow and stuff, but it is pretty wild. Um,